In the early hours of July 3, 2025, the body of young Paige Bell was found in the engine room of a luxury yacht in the Bahamas. Paige had been working on the yacht for only a few months, with just 11 days left until her 21st birthday. Her plan was to work for one more week on the yacht and then return home to celebrate her birthday with her family. But unfortunately, Paige never came back. This is the story of a young woman full of dreams whose life was cut short by a brutal crime. Paige Bell was born on July 14, 2004 in Johannesburg, the largest city in South Africa. She was the daughter of John and Michelle Bell, who also have another daughter named Chelsea. The family lived in Johannesburg for several years, but later decided to move to Durban, a coastal city known for its beautiful beaches, located in the KwaZulu-Natal province. Durban, with its tropical climate and access to the sea, nurtured Paige's love for water, a passion that would shape her future. As a child, Paige was described as cheerful, energetic, and with a smile that could light up any room. Friends and family called her the Golden Girl because of her warm personality. Paige grew up in Hillcrest, a suburb of Durban known for being a quiet, family-friendly residential area. Hillcrest is considered a middle-class area with access to good schools and proximity to the coast. She attended Hillcrest High School, where she stood out as a dedicated student. In 2022, at 18 years old, Paige graduated from high school, or matric as it's called in South Africa, a significant milestone in her life. Growing up in Durban, a city connected to the sea, fueled Paige's dream of working on yachts. South Africa, despite its beauty, faces economic challenges, with the South African rand worth about 18 times less than the US dollar. For young people like Paige, working on luxury vessels abroad was not just an adventure, but a significant financial opportunity. Earning in dollars and converting to rands could provide security to invest in education and build a better life. With her determination and adventurous spirit, Paige decided to chase that dream. After finishing high school, Paige began her career in the nautical industry, likely in 2023, although sources don't specify the exact start date. Her first job was aboard the super yacht Sweet Emotion, where she worked as a stewardess until December 2024. This role involved attending to guests, ensuring their comfort, and managing needs on board, a demanding job that Paige performed with excellence. Her crewmates on the Sweet Emotion described her as more than a colleague, family. They said she was very proactive and had the ability to bring calm and joy, even on long days at sea. Paige quickly earned the respect and affection of her team. On TikTok, she shared moments of her life at sea, including videos with her boyfriend, whose identity was not confirmed by sources, but who also seemed to share her love for the water. One TikTok video, highlighted by Gisela K, shows Paige playing with a filter saying, "Don't worry, girl, I've got you covered from Durban to the Bahamas," reflecting her playful personality. Her Instagram page also showed photos of an apparently perfect life, with exotic landscapes and moments of leisure at sea. In January 2025, Paige began working on the super yacht Far From It, a vessel measuring over 140 feet in length, anchored off Harbor Island in the Bahamas. This would become her final job, where she continued working as a stewardess, serving guests in a luxury setting that rented for approximately $165,000 US per week. Far From It, built by Richmond Yachts in Vancouver, had capacity for 12 guests and up to 8 crew members. Paige was excited, planning to return home to Durban to celebrate her 21st birthday on July 14, 2025, a culturally significant milestone in South Africa. She had big plans for her 21st birthday. Her mother, Michelle, was organizing a party with a red velvet cake, Paige's favorite, and the family eagerly awaited her return. But tragically, those plans would never come to fruition. 11 days before her birthday, in the early hours of July 3, 2025, Paige was found dead in the engine room of Far From It, in a crime that shocked the nautical community and her family. Harbor Island, also known as Bryland, is a small island approximately 18,700 by 7,900 feet, located about 60 miles from Nassau in the Bahamas. Known as Billionaire Central, the island is a retreat for celebrities like Bill Gates, Mick Jagger, Tom Cruise, and the Kardashians, with its pink sand beaches and exclusive mansions. It's a place where security is a priority, with guards and fortified properties. But in the early hours of July 3, 2025, that peace was shattered by a heinous crime aboard the super yacht Far From It. Around 1 a.m., the Royal Bahamas Police were alerted to an incident at Harbor Island Marina where the Far From It was anchored. The crew reported that Paige Bell, a 20-year-old stewardess, was not answering her phone and had failed to show up for her duties, something completely out of character for her, as she was known for her punctuality and dedication. Worried, the crew began a search of the yacht, which measures over 140 feet in length, with 5 luxury cabins, entertainment areas, and an engine room located on the lower deck. The search ended in horror when they found Paige in the engine room, a confined and isolated space on the yacht. She was unconscious, with visible injuries indicating a violent attack. According to reports, Paige was found partially undressed, with multiple stab wounds on her body, including deep cuts on her neck and defensive wounds on her arms, suggesting she fought bravely against her attacker. A local doctor was called to the yacht, but, upon examining her, confirmed that Paige was already dead. Near Paige's body, the police found Brigido Munoz, a 39-year-old Mexican engineer who was also part of the Far From It crew. Brigido had severe injuries on his arm, which the police described as suspicious. According to the police, the man's wounds closely resembled self-inflicted injuries, typical of someone attempting to harm themselves. He was holding a bloodied knife, and his proximity to Paige's body immediately made him the prime suspect. Brigido was detained at the scene, taken to a clinic for treatment of his injuries, and subsequently arrested on murder charges. To the police, everything indicated that Brigido had committed the crime and then attempted to take his own life. But why? The circumstances of the crime raised immediate suspicions that Brigido tried to force himself on Paige. Paige was partially undressed, and the injuries reported are consistent with a violent attack suggesting an attempted forced intimate encounter. Authorities have not released details about the exact motive or the relationship between Paige and Brigido Munoz, but sources indicate they worked together on the Far From It, implying they knew each other at least professionally. The crime scene, in the engine room, raises unsettling questions. Why was Paige there? It's unusual for a stewardess whose role involves guest interaction to be in a technical area like the engine room. Could a celebration on board, possibly involving alcohol, have gotten out of control? Or was Paige lured to the engine room under some pretense? These are only speculations, as sources do not confirm what led Paige to be in that isolated spot. Another intriguing point is the engine room's isolation. If Paige screamed during the attack, why did no one hear her? Far From It had up to 8 crew members, including the captain, but no one reported hearing anything suspicious until she was declared missing. This suggests the crime may have happened quickly, or that the engine room was sufficiently isolated to muffle any sound. The Royal Bahamas Police acted swiftly after being called to the marina. After confirming Paige's death, officers interrogated Brigido Munoz, who was found injured beside the body. As mentioned before, Brigido Munoz is a 39-year-old Mexican mechanical engineer. He had been working on Far From It for some time and appeared to have a seemingly normal life, including a wife and children, according to his still active Facebook profile at the time of the incident. On July 9, 2025, just 6 days after the crime, Brigido made his first appearance at the magistrate's court in Nassau, the Bahamas capital. He was formally charged with murder but was not required to enter a plea at this initial stage. The judge denied bail, and he was held in custody, with his next hearing scheduled for November 20, 2025, indicating a slow judicial process common in the Bahamas. Brigido Munoz's arrest highlighted a critical issue: the lack of mandatory criminal background checks and psychological testing in the superyacht industry. A petition on change.org, launched after the crime, gathered over 5,000 signatures demanding these checks be mandatory for yacht crew members outside the United States. While many companies and yacht owners are more selective with their crews, this is not universal, and there is no confirmed information on whether the accused had a criminal record that could have been flagged. This security gap has been highlighted as a factor that may have contributed to the tragedy. Investigations are still ongoing, with police examining forensic evidence, including Paige's autopsy and possible security footage from the yacht or marina. The presence of defensive wounds on Paige suggests she fought back, which could provide crucial DNA evidence against the accused. Additionally, Brigido's injuries, described as severe cuts on his arm, are interpreted by some sources as a possible self-inflicted act, indicating remorse or guilt. However, this is speculation, as the police have not officially confirmed the intent behind his injuries. An intriguing aspect of the case is jurisdiction. Since the crime occurred in Bahamian waters, the Royal Bahamas Police have primary authority, and the case will be tried under Bahamian law. Maritime lawyer Michael Winkleman noted in an interview that jurisdiction is relatively clear here, since the yacht was anchored at Harbor Island, unlike crimes on the high seas, which may involve the ship's flag or international law. This means Brigitto, if convicted, will likely face imprisonment in the Bahamas, possibly for life. Under Bahamian law, murder is punishable by life imprisonment, and in severe cases with aggravating circumstances like this one, the sentence can be without parole. However, criminal proceedings in the Bahamas tend to be slow, and Brigitto's trial could take years, frustrating Paige's family. Additionally, the defense may explore a mental health angle or argue that the crime was not premeditated, suggesting a lesser charge such as manslaughter. These are possible strategies, but given that Brigitto was found next to the body holding a knife, the case looks difficult to defend. Paige Bell's death left an immeasurable void in her family and friends. Her parents, John and Michelle Bell, and her sister Chelsea were devastated. They had planned a big party for Paige's 21st birthday with her favorite cake, but instead faced the painful task of repatriating her body from the Bahamas to South Africa. The family flew to Nassau after the crime, facing significant financial costs due to the exchange rate between the South African rand and the US dollar. To support the family, Paige's former colleagues from Sweet Emotion, including captains Frank Prest, Stephen Kutzer, and Arnold Hines, created a GoFundMe campaign titled In Memory of Paige Bell. The campaign, launched shortly after the crime, raised over $60,000 to cover repatriation expenses, legal costs, and family support. The GoFundMe description read, "Paige was more than a colleague, she was family. Her radiant light and compassion left an unforgettable impact." The campaign also asked people to honor Paige by eating red velvet cake on July 14th, her 21st birthday, and sharing photos on social media. On July 14th, 2025, friends, family, and supporters worldwide answered Paige's mother Michelle's call.
Happy birthday, Paige.
In Cape Town, a vigil was held on Camps Bay Beach, where dozens gathered to honor Paige, lighting candles and sharing memories. Hillcrest High School, where Paige studied, issued a statement mourning her loss, calling her a special young woman full of joy. Paige's family released a statement thanking everyone for their support and asked that people never forget her. I found no information about whether Paige's boyfriend made any public statements. Paige Bell's death not only shook her family, but also the superyacht industry, which employs thousands of young people seeking adventure and opportunities. Crimes of this severity are uncommon in this industry. In the United States, background checks are more common in the maritime industry, but in the Bahamas and other Caribbean regions, it depends on yacht owners or charter companies. Paige Bell's tragedy reignited the debate over civil liability. If her family decides to sue the owners of Far From It, they could argue negligence in hiring if Brigitto had a criminal record that went unchecked. However, yacht insurance policies often disclaim liability for criminal acts, which could complicate any civil action. So far, Brigitto Munoz remains in custody without bail, awaiting his next hearing on November 20th, 2025. Investigations continue, with police examining forensic evidence and possible testimonies from other crew members. The motive for the crime remains unknown, but some speculate it may have been a crime of passion, with Brigitto possibly attracted to Paige, feeling something for her that was not reciprocated. Another theory suggests that alcohol consumption during an onboard celebration may have contributed, but this is unconfirmed. Paige Bell's story is a tragedy that crosses borders. A young woman full of dreams who left her home in South Africa to pursue an adventure at sea had her life brutally cut short. Now, beyond keeping Paige's memory alive, her family also intends to fight for justice.